There's no reason to become alarmed, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your flight. By the way, is there anyone on board who knows how to fly a plane?
The views and opinions expressed on the Avoiding Real Estate Turbulence podcast are strictly those of the hosts and their guests, and do not reflect the opinions of Century 21 Town & Country, Ross Mortgage, or any of their affiliates.
Hey everybody, welcome to Avoiding Real Estate Turbulence Halloween special podcast. This is your pilot, Stabbin' John Lafferty with Century 21 Town & Country.
And Tony the Axe Abate with Ross Mortgage, and we are your real estate pilots.
And we want to welcome our special guest, Massacre and Marc Edelstein with Ross Mortgage.
We should be in costume, you know? We forgot that.
I didn't
Maybe we look scary enough as it is.
Yeah. So we were just sitting around chatting with Halloween around the corner, and in the business that we're in, we come across houses that have interesting histories, and these guys sometimes see it on the lending side. I certainly see it in walking through homes, and so we all kind of had interesting stories about things that we've come across, and thought we'd share a few of them with you today.
Perfect timing. Perfect timing.
So Marc, yeah, you were talking about something that you had come across, and
yep, I had a client of mine who purchased a home, and it was owned by HUD, and it was the scene of a murder, and she was the first buyer after this had happened, and so the appraisal comes in, and of course you want to take a pretty good look at that appraisal, right? Because you know what happened there, and you just see drywall missing, for the first 4 feet up in certain rooms where something clearly happened in that room where that was needed for evidence. But I thought, for sure, this woman was going to back out of this deal once she found out that that this had happened there. But she couldn't get over what a great deal she was getting on the house that she put it behind her. It was like, I'm still buying this house. I don't really care what happened. The whole half the drywall
missing didn't dissuade her or anything.
No.
Wow.
Crazy. And then did she find out? I mean, was it discovered or revealed?
It was discovered early on. She had plenty of opportunity to decide to back out, but it was too good of a deal to pass up, I guess.
Wow. Hope she's doing well. In the crime
I know
scene.
she is.
Yeah? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's and she went ahead with it anyways. Well, so I several years ago had a buyer who was interested in a condo, and it was disclosed that the owner had died by suicide, but it was never clear what had happened, how he took his life. Mm-hmm. It was never clear. And this condo had been on the market for, must have been 6 or 9 months. And it was being sold through probate because he had no will. And so they determined that a family member was going to oversee and receive some of the proceeds. So in steps my buyer and decides that they are interested in it because it's an incredible deal. It's like $90,000 under anything else in there. Now, mind you, all the people had done in that place where he had taken his life was replace the carpet. That's it. So on the wall, you could still see the outline of some bodily fluids that had discolored that wall. So anyways,
they were going to paint anyway, right?
Right. That was the idea. So my client had said, well, you know what? Animals, dogs, and cats are very perceptive to spirits or things that are in a home. So I'm going to take my 2 dogs when we go back there for the inspection and walk them through the home, and we're going to stay there a while and just see if they have any weird reactions or flip out or anything. So we were there for probably an hour and a half. Nothing. They were fine. There was nothing happening. Mm-hmm. And so go through with the purchase, close. I probably don't see this client for a year. run into them at a bar where they are a server. And I say, hey, how's it going? How do you like living in the condo? And they say to me, I do like living there, but there's just strange stuff that happens that I just can't explain. And I said, well, for instance, like what? They pulled up the sleeve on their arms and said, I wake up some mornings and I have these scratches on my wrist going up to my forearm. I can't explain how they get there. I just wake up from sleeping and they're just there on both wrists.
This is your buyer.
This is my buyer telling me this. I said, that's really strange. And they said to me, oh, you know what? I was talking to some of the neighbors and they told me that how the previous owner killed themselves was they cut their wrists.
Good Lord. And
to me, I'm like,
let's get this thing on the
well,
market.
that is really weird now that you've got those scratches on your wrist.
Yeah.
Time to get that.
So, but she was still living there. And
still
just kinda,
continued to live there,
what
and
an
just
irony. I
it
wake
was
up
what it
with
was.
these- Good gravy. Man. No, thank you. I couldn't do what you do, and I'm probably going to lose my man card about this whole thing. But
It's already been pulled.
damn, I knew. When you go into a house the first time, do you ever have to deal with the creepy basement syndrome? I mean, are you ever with clients and you're thinking, you know what, I'm going to let them go down first. This one just looks to be a little too Blair Witch to me.
There certainly are homes, especially the older ones where they have the Michigan basement, where they have the 5-foot ceiling or a 6-foot ceiling. So I'm already hunched over. And then add to that a dirt floor, which some of them have. Now I'm really not in a happy space because I'm bent over. I'm walking around this basement, usually picking up cobwebs with my head as I'm walking around. I'm not a happy camper, but yeah, there are certain places that you walk in, and you, especially in these older homes, they have those old coal rooms where they used to store the coal.
Yeah.
And those rooms are typically closed, and they're concrete rooms because they had that coal in there. And you just open that up, and sometimes it's just a weird feeling you get coming out of that door as you open it up, like, whoa, what just came out of here?
No
as
thanks.
This was closed. So, yeah, some interesting, weird doors. Like there was this home one time where we're showing this home, and in the middle of the living room floor is a trap door that you open up, and it's a box. It's like a 5-foot by 3-foot in the floor box.
About the size to hold a body, it sounds like.
The size to hold a body or to put somebody in there to punish them.
Oh my gosh.
And then there was a latch on top that you could latch it.
Holy cow.
I saw that and said,
Yeah.
man,
Wow.
somebody crazy was living here.
Oh, man. The older house, I take it?
70s.
Really? Had to be a retrofit. I don't think the builder put that.
That was a retro.
Wow. Yeah, I couldn't do that. I mean, that's... You've seen my house. I live in an old house. And a confession here. So one of the first times my family walked through, they all headed for the basement. Not me. I stayed up. I said, let me know how it is down there, and then maybe I'll come down and take a peek, because that is just not my comfort zone.
I've had plenty of clients who will not go down in the basement. One will come down with me and say, oh, yeah, it looks good down here. It's fine. Yeah, I'm not coming down. No, really, it's fine down here. Yeah, I'm not coming down.
Oh, man. Yeah. So I was, going back to the transaction that you were talking about, I mean, you said it was a HUD home, so the appraisal was already there. Yeah. Any mention as to the crime in the appraisal?
No mention. As a matter of fact, the buyer found out at the home inspection because they spoke to a neighbor.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah. That's how they found out.
Remember the 1969 murders? So the house was on the Manson murders of the famous people.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So there was always a fascination with that house. People driving by it, stopping, taking pictures of it, and so at some point they had to bulldoze it. I can't remember who did it, but they said that there was just a lot of bad stuff associated with that house. Just a lot of you couldn't walk into that home and not feel just dread and certain things. So they bulldozed that house.
Wow.
And took it out of commission. This isn't scary, but I was helping a friend of mine buy a townhome years ago, like in 2008. So 2009 during the whole downturn, and so
Well, that part's scary.
it was scary for a lot of people. This person owned this townhome, and they became delinquent, and cops showed up to serve them, to say, you got to get out, and so he decided to hide in the house, wouldn't answer the door. So the cops broke down the door, came in the house, couldn't find him. They realized, oh man, he's up in the attic.
Okay.
They could hear him, his kind of creaking. So I don't know what they grabbed, but they hit the drywall and down he came.
No.
And so when we were looking to buy this house, there was just this giant hole in the ceiling in the master bedroom, and we couldn't figure out why that hole was there.
Oh my gosh.
And then talked to a neighbor. God, neighbors know everything.
Yeah.
They
Talked
do,
to the neighbor, and the neighbor says, oh, no, he was hiding in the attic. Cops came up there, bam, down he came, arrested him, took him out, took him to jail.
Man, crazy.
So stuff like that, it's always interesting to get the backstory of things.
Yeah.
What about home owned by a hoarder? Ever been in one?
Oh, yeah.
Hoarders? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I you know what? I never knew there was such a thing as a neat hoarder, but
That's a
this
thing?
person was neat. Yeah, they warned me before I came over. They said, we're just going to let you know we're hoarders.
So this was a listing appointment.
This was a listing appointment. We're hoarders. I said, okay. We just want to let you know, we have stuff everywhere. I said, okay, I appreciate that. So I know what I'm walking into, not a big deal. But I walked in, and every stack on that first floor was neatly stacked. And now, granted, there were pathways to get to each stack, to get to each room, but it was every single room. This is a 2,000 square foot house, 2-story. You walked in, every single room was packed with pathways. The kitchen, the family room, the living room, every bedroom upstairs, the basement, loaded with stuff. But it was neat and clean, and they had cats too. I didn't understand how they did it. I figured what they must have done is just take a stack, move it over here, clean, and then move it back.
Wow.
It's the only thing that made sense, because it was the cleanest hoarder's house I've ever been in my life.
Did it sell?
Yeah.
It did sell, but they had to get everything out.
Oh, man.
It was the only way to sell it.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of stuff.
You need a dumpster, like a 30-yard dumpster.
Have you ever tried to take something and throw it out from a hoarder?
Oh.
It's damn near impossible.
Yeah.
They love everything that's in there.
Everything's got a story, right?
Everything has every article, every old clipping that they saved, every document, and I'm not going to say what this person did, because no need to do that. But anyways, it was surprising to me to find out what their former profession was, and that they were hoarders.
Wow. Interesting.
So you come across that a lot.
Good
But,
Halloween-y stuff.
that was scary too.
Yeah, for sure. But at least they were neat. So
Yeah.
they had
Well,
that
you were
going.
telling me in Michigan that if there's a crime committed in that house, you're not required as the owner to disclose that on the seller's disclosure that
true.
that needs to be completed. I guess if somebody asks, you have to answer, right? Truthfully.
Absolutely. If you're asked point blank, if somebody's died in the home, if somebody was murdered in the home, you have to disclose that if you're asked, if you have knowledge of it.
If asked.
If asked.
How many people ask?
Well, usually buyers will poke around, and sometimes you get a sense when you walk into a house that maybe it's a little dated, and maybe you can tell the carpet's older, it's shag, and maybe there's a hospital bed in one room, or maybe there's a bunch of older items. So the question becomes, kind of looks like an older person was living here. Yeah. Hey, maybe could you ask the listing agent if the homeowner died in the home, and if so, maybe what they died of? Was it cancer? Was it just so we know? So people do ask that, but sometimes they don't care. They just don't care. It doesn't bother them. I think it's a little bit cultural too, because some cultures view a death in a home more severely than maybe others do.
That's a good point. Yeah. Well, that's interesting. I'm sleeping with the lights on regardless tonight. So it's,
And your helmet?
and my helmet, baseball bat in hand, ready to go. Garlic, the whole 9 yards. Yep.
This was fun.
Yeah,
Glad
good-
we had a chance to talk about
Good
this.
Halloweeny stuff. Mark, thanks for sitting in.
Yeah, thanks.
Absolutely.
Thanks
Yeah.
for sticking around.
Thanks for
Appreciate
listening.
that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Going out? Okay. Hey, thanks for listening to Avoiding Real Estate Turbulence. If you'd be so kind to subscribe, review, rate, we'd appreciate it. Please share with your friends, family, and coworkers that they too can find us on Facebook and AvoidingRET.com, where you'll find our contact information in every episode of our podcast. You can also find us on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, and Spotify.